Tel Aviv on Israel's Independence Day. Rockets have been launched towards Ashkelon and Sderot in southern Israel. Rockets also launched towards the Galilee in northern Israel on Yom HaAtzmaut, the 76th day of independence, more than 7 months into the war here in the Middle East. Hamas firing from Gaza, Hezbollah from southern Lebanon. Now, usually, this day is synonymous with celebrations, concerts, beach barbecues, fireworks and flybys by the Air Force. Today, a muted day of independence as Israelis wait to hear what steps are being taken to secure the release of the hostages held in Gaza since the Hamas terror rampage on the 7th of October. In recent hours, 3 rockets launched from the Gaza Strip at the southern city of Sderot were intercepted by air defences. Now, for the latest updates on the ground, we go to correspondent Zach Anders. He joins us once again from southern Israel. And Zach, that rocket fire earlier intercepted in parts of southern Israel. Now, in the latest developments, the IDF says it's killed terrorists embedded in a school belonging to UNRWA in central Gaza, including some who took part in the October 7th massacre. Tell us more. What is the latest?
Benita, if you don't mind, I'm going to start. We have a strike that I want to show you about 90 seconds ago. This is Gaza City. We are watching as continued activity taking place in both Gaza City and in Jabaliya. I'll give you an assessment here. We'll move from south to north. In the south, the IDF now saying one has been seriously wounded from an explosive device in the Givati Brigade, another 5 moderately wounded in that same explosion. To the north, actually in the central area of the Gaza Strip, the IDF announcing an airstrike in Nuseirat, a camp with an UNRWA school. The IDF says it was being used as a command room. They say 15 terror operatives, including 10 Hamas members, were killed in that.
Meanwhile, thousands of people marched in Israel's southern city of Sderot on Tuesday, calling for Israeli settlements to be re-established in Gaza after the war. Far-right Israelis saying it's necessary to help protect the country following the October 7th killing rampage. Now, Israeli troops withdrew from Gaza in 2005, uprooting some 9,000 settlers at the time, a controversial move that divided Israel. Today, on Independence Day, rockets were fired into Sderot from Gaza as people raced for cover. Take a listen.
We want to tell everybody in Israel and everybody in the world that Gaza is very, very important to us. And it has to be, again, in Israeli hands. Because if it won't be in Israeli hands, we won't finish the things that we started doing in this war.
And turning to the northern front between Israel and Lebanon, Hezbollah has been active on this Israeli Independence Day. The IDF confirming one of its surveillance balloons has been hit by a rocket in the western Galilee, and it's fallen in Lebanese territory. There is no fear of information leaking, though. Earlier, several launches were identified from Lebanon towards northern Israeli towns, including Arab al-Ramsheh. Now, residents of Kiryat Shmona were asked to enter protected areas earlier. They were later told they could come out again. And Israeli aircraft struck and eliminated a Hezbollah terrorist in southern Lebanon, and IDF fighter jets struck Hezbollah terror infrastructure. So for the latest, let's go back to correspondent Balir Sladin. He joins us once again from northern Israel. Much activity across that northern border on this Independence Day. Balir, what is the latest? What can you tell us this hour?
Yes, in the past couple of hours, Hezbollah once again took responsibility for another launching of rockets toward what he describes as Sheba Farms, the occupied Sheba Farms, as he is stating it. And we're talking about an area in Upper Galil. There were no reports from the Israeli side of any casualties or damage, but this is coming after 10 rockets were fired toward the north of the Golan. A siren went off also in Majd al-Shams as a result of that. But most of these rockets rockets fall in open terrain. Also, no reports of any damage as a result of that. And the rare incident today about the balloon that was hit.
Thank you. And now for more reaction and insight, it's a pleasure to welcome to studio Dr. David Shimoni, former intelligence official at Commanders for Israel's Security. Dr. Shimoni, thank you so much for being here on a highly unusual and tense Independence Day, a tough one emotionally for the entire nation. And there we just heard from Jabaliya up north some level of speculation that there could be activity from Hezbollah and Hamas at the same time in the coming days. How worried are you?
Well, I am worried if simultaneously we're hit by Hezbollah from the north, as your correspondent said, with a big barrage of rockets. They are capable of firing thousands of rockets a day. You know, for the time being, we've seen a very small amount of their firepower aimed at Israel, although for 7 months we are under fire from the north. If they attack if they attack us with a major barrage of rockets, it will cause a lot of damage and casualties, in spite of the fact that most of our settlements and towns in the north are empty. People have left.
That is the main question, of course. Dr. David Shimoni, stay with us, because as we've been discussing, Qatar says talks over a ceasefire in Gaza have reached a stalemate due to Israel's operations in Rafah in southern Gaza, an operation Israel says it has to conduct to eliminate the Hamas threat. Now, Doha and Cairo have both taken on mediation roles during the war. No concrete outcome yet. The main differences reportedly remain over the release of the hostages from Hamas captivity and an end to the war. Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani telling an economic forum in Doha on Tuesday they would keep working to resolve the situation. Let's take a listen.
Well, it's been actually a very long process, and especially in the past few weeks we have seen some momentum building, but unfortunately things didn't move in the right direction, and right now we are in a status of almost a stalemate. Of course, what happened with Rafah has set us backward a little bit.
Still in studio, Dr. David Shimoni, and the desperation for families of hostages waiting for word. It's 221 days in captivity. No deal thanks to Qatar, no deal thanks to Cairo. What's next?
I believe until now the United States has been maybe too polite with Qatar, because the key for pressure on Hamas, especially financial pressure, is through Qatar. I trust the Egyptians more. I think they have more interests in securing peace in that area, and also in the destruction or the elimination or the reducing of the power of Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood around the Hamas. But I think the United States is still not exerting full pressure on Qatar. The United States has interests with Qatar. They have military presence in Qatar, which they need. And there's lots and lots and lots of Qatari money being infused into the United States, buying assets, going into the major universities of the United States. You know, big universities, American universities have campuses in Doha.
Now, Sapir Cohen was one of the hostages freed from Hamas captivity in November. Since then, she has seen hopes rise and fall for a deal that could secure the release of her boyfriend along with 131 other hostages. It's not known how many of the hostages are alive, as we've been discussing here in studio. Now, Sapir spoke to Channel 12 News about the terror rampage at Kibbutz Nir Oz, the horrors in captivity, and what it was like meeting Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar in those terror tunnels. More in this report.
Calendar for October. Do you feel anything when you're here? To be honest, no, I won't lie. I don't feel anything.
Is that what helped you survive in captivity? Not feeling anything?
Very likely. Maybe what I felt in those moments, that it was the worst thing ever. Maybe that's what gave me some sort of peace afterward, because I understood it couldn't get any worse. I felt like I had endured the worst thing possible.
The horrors Sapir experienced. She couldn't have imagined that Friday morning when she convinced her partner, Sasha Trupanov, to give up a quiet weekend in their apartment in Ramat Gan and go visit his parents in Nir Oz. Sapir and Sasha are both 28, a couple of engineers who have been together for a little over a year.